that topic, Rod. I heard you mention crip walking. I guess crip walking, there's some spirituality behind crip walking, huh?
Yeah, that's a part of a accumulation of the rain dance. That's called the lightning.
The lightning?
The lightning. So in ancient times, it used to be called crooked walking. The crooked
Mm-hmm.
man walking across the land. That's lightning.
Mm-hmm.
That's Big Tookie,
Mm-hmm.
right? All of the Crips that Crip walk in his honor gives power to that force of lightning that we call the crooked man, right? So when they first started Tookie out, because they had him in cryostasis, and when they first started him out, then the Crips went to Crip walking. It was lightning every goddamn where.
Mm.
I was reporting it in real time while it was happening, and I was telling them and I was showing them. I was like, "Look, the Crips walking, and Tookie waking up out of this motherfucking frozen state. You know, this finna be a problem for the system because now they got the third king added to the equation."
Yeah, and I can attest that post 2019, there has been definitely a very pronounced Crip resurgence. You know, when we went to Nipsey's homegoing service in LA, we was like, this shit is like a Crip cathedral. I ain't never seen so many Crips in my life. And in terms of it becoming imprinted on culture, it just pretty much has taken a stronghold. You know, you've seen the Crip resurgence in Brooklyn by way of the Brooklyn Crips and the Woos and the Chews and all of that. So, you know, can you speak to what relationship, whether it's esoteric or whether it's something that connects to the bonds, what relationship do Chicago street organizations have with LA gangs?
Um, it's funny you would say that because we all vice lords, right? That's Big Mama house. Larry and Jeff from Mississippi, and Tookie from Louisiana, I believe, right? And all that is Big Mama's territory. So when Big Mama boys go out, we connected across the land. We don't have to have eyes on each other to know what each other doing. So when I was a little boy, Big Mama told me that when I get big, I I was to leave no stone unturned. I didn't know what it meant as a child, but she was talking about restoring the land and restoring the people and putting the kings back in their positions. I began to learn that over time as the many messages that her and my mama gave me begin to just come together um like transformers in my brain, and it just started clicking, right? And once it started clicking, like I'm having dreams, I'm having visions. I'm like, man, this is like I'm going through it, on a spiritual front. Like it wasn't for the weak. So I see why they told me to do it because they said wasn't nobody else gonna do it, right? Because the spiritual work is so trained on the psyche that if you're not an old soul, you might not be able to make it, right? So um when the connection come in is that all of them was dispatched. It was more than them, right? Them just the three high chiefs on the land, right? And they came to me in the dream as three sky chiefs, which was three constellations of stars written in three chiefs' head in full feather regalia. Now I got to figure out who they is and where they at, right? And that's where the problem come in at because I'm seeing a culture that's not our culture. So now I got to read this new culture Because if it was just our culture, I could have found them in 20 minutes. But in this new culture that's overlaying our culture upside down and backwards, now I have to do comparative analysis, cross references, right? I have to extrapolate from a key phrase or certain word that somebody dropped in the 1800s, right? I had to go do all this control remote viewing back in time to see who was doing what. Right now, I got to learn how to do this shit though. I don't just know it. And then I can't tell nobody while I'm learning because they already think I'm crazy because of the shit that I be saying. It's outside of their ability to comprehend and their cognitive dissonance. The only remedy for it is to assume that I'm insane, right? But the psychologists and the psychiatrists, they wanted to know when I was going to open the school so they could get classes,
Right.
you know? So,
Hey,
I
hey, you,
mean,
hey, Rod, you referred to this. I believe I was watching a YouTube video earlier. I think it was the channel was a Galactic Talk or something. You referred to what's going on as uh, Galactic chess game
yep.
and on a 5D chessboard. I want you to elaborate on that. I never that kind of caught my that my son got shit on my face, y'all. Yeah, elaborate on that a little bit for me.
So the fifth dimensional chessboard is a conjure weapon. And we was
Explain
challenged
for
to a
those who
fight.
don't know. Explain when you say conjure weapon. I just want the people to know, just in case they don't know what you mean by that.
Conjure weapons are those things used in spiritual warfare while you on the earth.
Mm,
5D galactic chess consists of almost every game you could think of. They all involved at the same time. They playing. You got to play on every board. I'm talking. You playing Scrabble. You playing Yahtzee. You playing kid game tag, stop and go.
mm,
Right. When you put them all together, but you got to only play them from a mental standpoint, which puts you in fourth dimensional matrix, mind matrix, right? So they say it's a game of masterminds,
mm,
and the mastermind is the man who masters his mind. But it's a board game because you got to be bored to play it. That means that the rules come from the board games, right? Then, if you're really good in the galactic chess game, you can put puzzles together in a holographic framework in the mind, and you can put together three-dimensional puzzles. Take them apart. So you learning how to use the mind for higher thought, as it say in the Christian Bible. Let this mind be in you, which was in Christ Jesus, who thought not it a sin to be equal with God.
mm,
Right. In other words, put put your mind in God mind, put God mind in you.
mm,
Psychoanalyze God, you will be absorbed by your God mind. Right? If you learn forensic profiling, profile on the characters in the Bible, and then you start to see a different story than this narrative you've been given. Right? Because we're looking at a psychopathic, narcissistic, sociopathic, pedophile predator with homosexual tendencies. That's in Lil, right? But then he's going to war with this other one. This is all loving, kind, compassionate, caring God. That's Inky. So now it's a war going on, the 19th song versus the 119th song. When the birds of the feather flock together, Enlil's children go home to him. They look like us, but they ain't us. They come from a different branch of the family tree off of a different galactic order,
mm,
right? So we not looking at all of the different cultures collectively in order to find out what's going on. We only looking at American History 101, algebra, right? Then we get to college where we might do something real Real stuff like take up some arts and entertainment classes or something, you know, couple business classes, learn how to function real good in the slave system. My mind is saying, how we gonna take this shit over the whole time? I'm gonna play this motherfucking game, but when my brother's gonna wake up so we can take this shit back over, put everything back how it's supposed to be, raise the matriarchy, put the power where it goes so everything will run the way it's supposed to run, right? So when we study, listen to music, we always picking the side. Who the best? Biggie or Pac? Pick a side. Who the best? Michael Jackson, the Prince? Pick a side, right? Who better? Jackie Wilson or Sam Cooke? Pick a side. You like rock and roll or rap? Pick a side. Everything that they can do to divide you up into different categories and classifications, they're gonna do it, including label you the colors of crayons. Ain't no black people, ain't no white people, right? The reality of it is those are chess terms. But if you don't know the legalese, you'll never know that because they give it to you in the colloquial language as crayons. And then they tell you that these people is black people and these people is white people. But they don't ever tell you that the black people in law is civilly dead people. And the white people in law are the people who is the ones owning the ones that's civilly dead. That's why they trade like a birth certificate and death certificate on the international stock exchange, right? So once one of us know, our culture say, don't shut the fuck up till we all of us know sufficiently enough to change the condition. Right. So I ain't shutting up.
Hey, you talked earlier about us being here in America, not coming from slave ships. You know, over the past 5 years, we witnessed, with Donald Trump, especially when he was in office, we witnessed the knocking down of a lot of Confederate statues. Now, I also heard you say the Confederates, that was our shit, that was us right there. So, could you give us some history of the Confederates? I'm sure a lot of us are miseducated on who the Confederates really were
The
and why.
real
And
Confederates is the Confederate, the Iroquois Confederation of Nations. That's the Confederates. And they ruled from the South. They didn't rule from the North, right? And that's why they say the South will rise again. That's why they gave us the northern upward orientation on the map. That's not the right orientation, so you automatically disoriented looking at the map because your perception is upside down already. So the
Can you explain
Confederation
that to them,
was
please?
the said again, Peel.
And I said, can you explain that to them? Can you walk them through that
Which part?
about the map being upside down?
Yeah, so we was always a southern oriented people. All of our ancient maps, the south is up, right? And um north is down. They gave it to us backwards in order to disorient us. You ever hear people say the sun rise in the west and set in the east?
Hmm.
Because they got us looking at it backwards. Everything is upside down and backwards. That's so that you can never get the proper orientation to gain your
Right.
bearings.
Right. Your bearings and directions, your connection to Polaris. Case in point, we can geographically settle the argument right now. Right. I'm in the South. I'm in Georgia. It's at a 3,500 foot elevation. Rich is in New York, right, which is at sea level. So is he up north or is he down north? Am I up south or am I down south? Just think about it, y'all.
Yeah, you actually up south,
Thank you.
right? So the land they call down under, Australia is really on the top of the world, right? But they want us to think it's Alaska and the North Pole is the top.
Right. It's
Now,
Australia. That's why they want a top down approach. They got the camps there first to trickle it down.
so what do this mean psychologically? You already disoriented. You already looking at stuff upside down. So when they teaching you the map, this information is going in upside down and backwards. Your true self know that it's upside down, but it's trying to figure out how to tell your ego self. But your ego self believe what the world around it tell it to because your ego is conceived by the world outside you. Your true self is who you was when you was born, without nobody telling you who you are. Right? So different cultures we have different rituals for naming children. Some children don't even get a name till they 5 years old. Because a character hasn't pronounced itself enough in order to identify who and what they are. Right? Some children tell you what their name is at an early age. You gotta keep asking them. Every day you ask them, what's your name? What's your name? And the baby gonna tell you. Sooner or later, the baby gonna tell you what their name is. It normally take around 9 months. And the mother gotta be persistent. Now I don't know if this is the case, but I believe that's why Affinity changed Tupac's name at 9 months. Because I believe he told her who he was. So she gave him his name. Right? So that automatically puts them at odds with the corporation. Any one of us that remember who we are at that early of an age is an automatic problem. We are automatic problem, right? So what do is we start to return back to our cultural ways, right? It's certain stuff that we do and certain stuff that we just don't do, right? We don't cover up bad men to keep the good men from correcting them, right? In this system, they got bad men gonna come in and correct the bad man. Make that shit make sense. The devil gonna correct the devil, but he gonna take all the good men in the process. So he only not really correcting the bad men. He just using them as the hedges to wrap in the good men. Take the chiefs off the land and leave the people in disarray. Where there is no structure, there is no order. And where there is no order, you can send them in no direction. It's just basic human knowledge of the human species. How do we move? We move with nature. There's somebody here not moving with nature, but is moving exactly the opposite of nature. Right. So when we talk about restoring the balance, going back to the matriarchy, restoring might, this is what we're talking about. Going back to nature. We can have nature and Silicon Valley. But Silicon Valley got to follow nature rules. Nature don't got to follow Silicon Valley rules. So they came with AI because they thought AI could beat God. And God whooped AI ass with a 19-point convergence to override their 4-point convergence in quantum encryption. Because God got 19 points of quantum convergence, that 4-point quantum convergence that AI do will not keep up. Right? And this is the sacred sealing of the AI in order to keep it from taking over the world. Right? So we have to know our culture, our ways, and how all of these things come together. So when they take the map and turn it upside down, they also turning your psyche upside down. But you don't know it because it happens that you're at such an early age, you never had a chance to orient yourself to the world around you. And they taking the babies earlier and earlier. Daycare at 8 months old, 6 months old, 4 months old. Mama got to go back to work. If that ain't insanity, I don't know what is. You muted.
All right, y'all should hear me now. Yeah, this is some good conversation here, family. I want to thank everybody. We at the hour mark right now. I'm gonna take Q&A soon. I see y'all been they've been asking questions the whole show, man. They're excited, so I want to get to them and allow them to ask some questions to the
Yes, sir.
brother. Make sure y'all donate, family. We got about 1,300 people in here. Hit up the Cash App if you are
Um,
benefited from this
Brother
show.
Rod, you want
Yeah.
to share any of the 44 information that you shared with me?
Wait, hold up, Blue. Damn, I had another one more announcement. Damn, you made me forget. Damn. Go ahead, Blue. Go ahead. I forgot what I'll think of it later. I'll think of it later. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Before we do that, shout out to Chicago Crypto Hustler, a blockchain, Bitcoin bully. You know, I know that y'all did an
Oh, that's what it was.
amazing
Yeah, thank you, Blue.
presentation,
Yeah, that's what it was, Blue. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was fire. I'm sure that you want to speak on that.
Yeah, I wanted to everybody who's looking for the masterclass, it is now available on the website blackmagicuniversity.com. That magic is spelled with a K, just like my name, blackmagicuniversity.com. You could get the video there. I mean, I put up the testimonial video the other day on the channel. We're getting amazing testimonials. Shout out to everybody who's a part of it and who is currently in the Discord happening right now. Like I said, we at the hour mark. We're gonna get in Q&A, but I know Blue wants to start off with something. Go ahead, Blue.
Yeah, Brother Rod, do you hear me? You want to share with them any of that information?
You muted, bro, brother Rod. All right, you
I
good.
give you Blue. What do you want me to go over?
Now, I said, did you want to share any of the 44 information pertaining to Chicago?
The 44 in Chicago. That's Angel Bay, Red Lodge 44, right? And that's his angelic form, Chief Malik Angel Bay. And 44 is the angel number. So that's what we're talking about on the 44 out of Chicago is Angel Bay.
Right. Um, Anything else? Four corners. You want to touch on any of that?
Well, the four corner hustler, that's the Vice Lord line. And the four corner hustlers ties back to the BDs, and the BDs ties back to the GDs to show us that we all one nation and one family. So the four corner hustlers started on the west side of Chicago. Ironically, that's where my mother was running at on the west side of Chicago as a outlaw vice lord biker.
Hmm.
All right. Let's get to some Q&A. Let's get back to the chat. All right, family, give me some questions for the brother. Rod, did you Blue share your Cash App with the family before we get to the Q&A? Blue and Rod.
Go properties to the number 19.
Mm,
And it is the sacred seal to unlock the Islamic religion, for one,
mm,
because the Quran code is predicated up on the sacred seal of the number 19,
mm,
right? And the Hebrew Bible and Torah is also sealed with the number 19. So this is the number 19 code allows you to know in those books what don't belong, and it helps you to put things in a proper order based on the coding of that number.
indeed,
And
indeed.
right, so it's when you see the number 19, it's the sacred seal. It's also one and nine is actually nine is the last number. It's actually the omega, and
Mm,
one is the alpha, and it's the alpha to the alpha meets omega at 19,
mm,
because one and nine equals 10, right?
mm,
So now we went from omicron to omega. Omicron is the small o, and omega is the big O in the Greek alphabet. So when you take the 19 and it becomes 10, the omicron is the 9 that becomes the 0 on the place holding in the numbers, right? Because 1 and 9 equals 10, and 1 is alpha, and 0 is omega. 1
mm,
is alpha, 9 is omicron. So it's a sacred sealing comes with the number when you use it correctly in its context. right?
Let's get to a question. Oh man, Tierra wants to know. Can you ask him about the 144,000 star seeds?
So those are the tribes. This is biblical dogma that this comes from. We have to reenact all of it because it's trapped up in the psyche and the mental matrix. So now we have to reenact that. The 144,000 star seeds, 144,000 indigo children are the ones required um, to make a shifting of consciousness in a cross section of people, right? So now, when we talking about the star seed, we all star seeds because we all made up of stardust, and everybody is a neutron star, and the mitochondria is a step down capacitor in order to allow your DNA helix to read the sequences, right? So the 144,000 is actually a code, right? It's actually not supposed to be that many numbers. It's a homonym. 144 thou sin, meaning I'm going to send you one angel. This ties back to what he asked Chief Malik Angel Bay, right? This is the red lodge knot off of a biblical flip. Now, they see it as a number, 144,000, as a 6-digit number, right? But I hear it as a homonym. 144 is an angel. One angel thou seeing, meaning being sent by one angel, right? So now we have the angel that's the star seed, because you got to be a star seed to be an angel, but you also have to be realized. That means you can't be 3/5 compromised. Only know your uh, mind and your body and your sex drive. You have to also know your spirit and your soul to be 5/5 realized. So now you see what the Dred Scott case is really about. The 3/5 compromise is those who's classified as imbeciles in law. The 5/5 realize is those who know who they are and stand up for their sovereign position in the community and declare their right to reclaim their community and heal it. Right. So when I see the 144,000 star seed, I do not see the same thing that the average person is looking at. Nor do I
Okay,
see the religious context either.
okay. Let's get to the next question. Ashley wants to know: can Rod talk about the government structure we had in place before, in the role of John Hanson, if any?
So, John Hanson is one of the Moors that signed the contract in the blood of Crispus Attucks, the first to die in the so-called American Revolution. They had to write the contract in the blood of one of us in order for it to be a standing contract on this land, because the blood of the righteous shall not be shed in vain. So it had to be given a purpose. So they wrote the contract, the original contract. John Hanson was in on it. So when we talking about the Continental Congress, we talking about being infiltrated, because the Continental Congress would have never been overthrown, and the Continental Congress was the ones who transcribed the Iroquois Constitution onto paper and gave it to the invader conquistadors, right? So a lot of us, don't want us to know that John Hanson was dark skinned with woolly hair, because they want you to think the white man is white, but the white man ain't white. When you want to know who was involved, all you got to do is look in the George Washington Masonic Memorial Fez collection, and you'll see all of the Moors. They gave up their fezzes, but you will not find the feathers of the chiefs, because they made the contract with something called a Dawes Road Indian. They didn't make the contract with the true indigenous people of the land. But under the contract, we can't reclaim it until the expiration of the contract in order that none of the righteous blood be spilled in vain. It's a blood oath. And in the process, we could have been ended the contract because they violated all of their terms. The problem is none of the chiefs was allowed to exercise the power to throw them off the land because they murdered them. When they was telling us about strange fruit from Billie Holiday, those were chiefs they were hanging. Those were the soldiers on the land that was rallying the troops to reclaim the land, and they was murdering them, tarring and feathering them. Why they tarring and feathering them? They was making a mockery of our culture because we eat chicken. Because when Big Mama, we go to Big Mama house, they probably still do it in the NO. You go to Big Mama house, she used to have a big bowl of chicken covered with a towel on the counter. We didn't have no potato chips, Doritos, none of that shit. She have a pot of corn on the cob cut in, little sections. But this is what they used to give us for snacks. And she have a bowl of cornbread cut up in squares on the counter. So when we went to Big Mama house, Big Mama boys, because they're gonna always love chicken. They're gonna always eat a whole lot of chicken. Because that's what Big Mama gave them, that was a snack. It's the greatest of comfort foods is the snacks. Right? So the government that they had in place, the Continental Congress, was to undermine the Confederation of Nations that was already agreements between all of the people on the land. Together, we might fight all the time. Me and Blue Pill might bop each other upside the head, but don't come over here fucking with us because then you're gonna make both of us turn around and be like, "Who the fuck is you?" Right? Because when we understand who he is, we don't kill each other. The enemy taught us to kill each other. We didn't know killing each other until the enemy brought it over here. Every time we organize, they infiltrate. Every time we build, they tear down or they take it from us. So they don't never want us getting the word out of why did Malcolm really leave the Nation of Islam? So Elijah Muhammad could see all of the rats that was laying right next to him that he couldn't see. Malcolm named them all in the public domain, and now he's talking to Elijah, and he ain't talking to the police, and he ain't talking to the general public because he say the police already know this. The only person don't know who the traitors is Elijah. That's why he sent Malcolm to run the red herring, draw the heat. Them the same niggas that clearance 13X. Father God Allah, 5% Nation, for building with the youth, for taking errant youth off the street, for giving them the understanding that they God within and they use a God within as the first frame of reference for creativity in this world. We can't have him teaching that to them. They gonna fuck around and wake up. Kill him. They murdered him. Brutally. Right? Then the newspaper try to slant all different kind of ways about it so you can't even get to the truth of the matter. They look like us, but they ain't us. Right? So they paid the pale man that they brought over here with them, the Tawny Moors, to be out front to keep us out of their lodges. So they can use our shit to keep us in servitude. So Prince Hall infiltrated, but he didn't have the master key to Garvey got here on the Blue Lodge. And so Noble Jew Ali infiltrated. If you know his history, you know he went and got the keys from the Moorish Zionist temple. And when they realized what happened, it was too late. He was gone. He left New Jersey and came to Chicago. And he set up in Detroit. And he began to teach the doctrine. But Everybody in there not gonna know what he talking about. But what they do, they killed him. Them niggas look like us. They own the police. They kids don't never get in trouble, but they make sure ours do. They always find a way to get theirs out, but they don't get ours out because they don't want us to grow up knowing who the fuck we is, right? So once we become conscious, each one teach one. We all gonna reach them. Use whatever platform you got to tell it to the people in the best way you can in order to get the message across in the way that you know how. Don't worry about nobody else's part. Just do yours. If we all do our own part, don't worry about who doing else doing their part. We can get this shit done in short order. You know. So this take us back to the free Larry Hoover agenda, because all this tied to it. Reclaiming the land is to put the leaders that belong on the land where they belong, so they can raise these matriarchs back to prominence. Because as Elijah said, a nation can rise no higher than its women, and our women has been being subjugated by somebody that don't belong here.
All right, let's get to the next question. This question, hold up. This question is for Blue and Rod. Is it possible that we are artificial intelligence from the future who have traveled to the past to have a human experience?
You want to take that first, Blue, or you want me to take it first?
Mhm.
That's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. Simply because when I was growing up reading certain religious texts and I was looking at inscriptions on walls and monuments and all of that, I just always felt that I was reading history backwards. I was like, "Oh, this is from the future. We ain't even get here yet to do this. We reading about something that we've yet to do." If I'm to buy into the concept or theory of evolution, it don't make sense. It cancels itself out just with basic logic. That how are these monuments? How are these inscriptions in stone? How are they possible without diamond tip instruments? The particular mathematics on these monuments is precise. The golden means and phi and everything. I'm like, this doesn't make sense to the quote unquote logical mind. Do I think that I'm AI from the future though coming back? No, I don't. I don't necessarily think that. But I do acknowledge the fact that when I have encounters with crafts, things of that nature, there's an aspect of that I feel is quantum. That may be me in my future, body or encasement coming back, like how they showed you in X-Men, past and present. But I'm not AI. Mm.
Um, we are sentient intelligence, quantum intelligence actually, but we're not artificial intelligence. Um, the physical body is not us. The physical body is based on a form of technology. And the form of technology that it's based on is organic, silicon based, or carbon based, actually,
Carbon based, right?
phalanx
It's
nanotech.
it's almighty intelligence.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But it's still nanotech. You still
Hmm.
have self replicating nanotechnology at play. The study of the human organism or the living organism, where the cells, the DNA split and recombine to form a different helix, right? That understanding of that science gave birth to what we call nanotech, um, the study of it. So when they study in biology, they're trying to figure out how did God put this mechanism together and how can we duplicate it, right? So there's a book about 4 volumes called Mendelian Inheritance in Man, and it has the DNA encoding for each codon.
Mm.
If you know what you're looking for, you can unravel the mystery of the DNA. The DNA is a self-replicating organic capacitor that is powered by a mitochondrial matrix to allow this consciousness that exists in a neutron star to be funneled into your physical self. Once it funnels into your physical self, this is what you call the burning. The burning is the soul's fire inside of the organism. And the burning requires oxygen for the combustion. The combustion is the oxidization of the metals in the blood that generates the color of the blood. When you study, you see that in ancient times we had green hue. The green hue was not everybody, it was certain ones, and they were primarily magnesium base over copper base, right? So they was copper and magnesium instead of iron and magnesium. I mean copper. Now, iron oxidization caused the rusting and the ruddy red complexion. When the magnesium and the copper begin to oxidize, they be turned green. So some of the babies are still born with the green hue because their magnesium levels that they drew from the mother is sufficient enough to facilitate that transfer of oxidization in the blood. They doctors tell you it's bruising from being in the womb. That ain't no goddamn bruise. Because if it was, it would be sore to the touch when you touch it,
Hmm.
right? So it ain't no bruise. It's a coloration from magnesium synthesis in the fetal as it developed because it drew more magnesium than iron from mama. Because
Yes.
she probably didn't have sufficient quantities of iron, and the baby is going to
Right.
take the magnesium to replace it.
And that's key because both of those deficiencies impact melanated people specifically, and that's a cause, they say, for the majority, once again, of the uptick of diseases, right? Because you need comparable parts of magnesium to actually activate calcium in your body for it to work. So they wasn't lying when they said milk does a body good. What I meant by that, not milk, but calcium. But you can't use calcium unless you have equal parts magnesium. And then the iron deficiency, 90% of people in this country is iron deficient, but it impacts melanated people more specifically because you can tell by our the numbers, the larger numbers that we have with sickle cell infliction. You know what I'm saying? So that iron and that magnesium, those are two key elements or minerals. You know.
Hmm.
Especially the iron in the women. When the women become iron deprived, they have prolonged menstrual cycles, painful menstrual cycles, and heavy bleeding. And when they are in stasis with the metals in their blood system, they have shorter periods with lesser amounts of blood. Some of them just spot, right? They don't have a full fledged flowing menstrual like other women. But it goes back to the chemistry. You know, what metals do you hold on? Magnesium is actually a synthesizer for all of the trace metals that the body uses. And the vitamin C is the synthesizer for all of the rest of the vitamins. You can't use it without it.
Let's get to the next question. How do we as a collective raise the matriarch? Are we getting further away from such?
Actually, the calling for Larry Hoover to come forth in order to raise the matriarchy, the three chieftains of the land, the three high chiefs' job is to first come forward and give a report to the people on the conditions of the land, and then introduce them to the grand matriarch on the land. So this instrumental and it's direct and it's almost here. Soon as enough of us understand what's going on in our culture, we can raise the matriarchy once again, and that is the restoration of ultimate balance on earth.
Indeed. Let's get to somebody said, what are the best iron tablets?
Um,
Yeah, we
I
don't.
got a herbalist that I get that information from. He normally have his own, so I'm not really sure
Yeah.
what one to refer you to because this is a lot of good.
We always spoke about iron phosphate. That's plant-based iron. And you can get that in liquid form. You can get it from my mother now. She got a sale. She got a sale on the website greenleaf-herbs.com. Right. You get the oxyhemo. That's the classical iron tonic. Right. That's the classical iron tonic. So yeah, that was the key to a lot of what Sabi did in this healing modality is he was able to utilize iron phosphate, which is absorbable and integratable, especially by the melanated body.
Another
Right.
thing about iron oxide is it's already used anyway, and you can't use something that's already been used. And oxidized iron is rust.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next question. Lakasha wants to know any connection between left hand people, dyslexia, and the world presented to us upside down slash backwards.
It's a 100% correlation because we're supposed to be ambidextrous first off,
Mm.
but because they teach us to be left brain dominant, most people are right-handed because the right hand is controlled by the left brain. The right brain dominant, which is the mother brain, abstract, is left-handed. When you learn to become ambidextrous, you're learning to use both sides of your brain, right? And the world being presented to us upside down and backwards makes it easier to trap you only on one side of the brain.
Blue, you want to add anything to that, Blue, or for?
Yeah, I mean he pretty much covered it. You know what I'm saying? We've continuously said that in the upside down topsy turvy world, you know, if you can't orientate yourself, how can you pivot? How can you do whatever's necessary if you don't know what angle that you're coming from? And I also spoke about the experience, the physical experience I had when I traveled across the Atlantic Ocean. I said, what? I said, I activated the other hemisphere of my brain. I was dual hemispheric thinking when I came back. I understood shit better. I was calculating at a much, my body, the homeostasis of my body started becoming balanced because I did not actively activate the other hemisphere of my brain. I was just stuck in Western thought and in the West, physically located in the Western hemisphere.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm.
and then, metaphysically or metaphorically, what they say, there is two hemispheres of your brain. That's the Eastern and the Western, and the middle column is the middle passage. So that would be the Atlantic Ocean. So when I crossed that ocean, I had got dual hemispheric activation. So yeah.
Indeed. All
And
right,
then
we're
when
gonna.
I came back, I've been practicing techniques to brush with my opposite hand. Like
You
you
mentioned
said,
you mentioned that before. Yeah,
was
you
written
mentioned that.
about
Yeah.
the ambidextrous nature of utilizing both hemispheres.
I make sure one thing I do, family. I told y'all I developed the practice of writing my affirmations with my left hand, and I started doing that during the making of Holy Ghost One, the album when me and Cambada just came to my mind to write affirmations with my left hand, and then shit, it worked for me. So yeah, man, that us being ambidextrous makes a lot of sense, family. I'm gonna take five more questions. Then we're gonna get out of here. Don't want to hold the brother too long, but I know you're enjoying the show. We're gonna get to the next question. Ashley wants to know, how can we identify the black conquistadors today? Any tips for identifying the enemy? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You sound.
Anybody tell you to get some paperwork to validate who you is a slave catcher. If they tell you you got to file anything with this defunct system to validate who you are, they're a slave catcher. If they ain't out slave catching, look for the ones that come around in a peaceful group, always trying to sow seeds of dissension. That's their job. When they catch a righteous congregated, they want to start some shit between two of them, right? So this is the identifier of the character type. They can't help it. They can't stand to see us getting along. They can't stand to see us talking about ousting them from off our land for the atrocity they committed on our people. They're gonna find every excuse to try to tell you that you black. You ain't black. Crayons is black. So when you show me somebody that can match a crayon, I've seen some people match a purple one, but before I ain't seen people match a black one, right? But those are the telltale signs that they trying to trap you back into slavery again and revalidate their old defunct contracts. Their contracts is up. Their time is up, right? But that's how you identify them. They come in talking about the people of the land, don't know what they talking about, and that you need to come down here and file this paperwork and give me some money. Anybody that's overcharging you for services to give you back your history, they ain't us. I do this shit for free because we need to wake the fuck up. They not gonna do nothing for free. They want you to pay them at every turn, right? They not interested in the liberation of the people. They interested in how can they be comfortable living over the people that subjugate. We
Yeah,
don't want
not
you
the
liberated.
liberation of the people, the liquidation of the people.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's how you can tell the difference.
Can he speak on the Indians they taught us about in school through the Trail of Tears?
So that's the great exodus from the so-called Bible stories. The Trail of Tears was actually a POW march. They was trying to find somewhere to put these people without them alerting other people. So the Trail of Tears is called that for more than one reason, but the main reason is because the sorrow that came along with it and inflicted a lot of misery. And it was Dawes Roll Indians incorporated with the indigenous people of the land. The Dawes Roll Indians ain't from here. Those are the ones that they created the contracts with, pretending that they were us.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to take it off mute, family. Are there really pyramids in the Grand Canyon?
It's pyramids all over the world. You can't go nowhere on Earth and not find some pyramids somewhere. Some of them they told you was mountains are not mountains, but pyramids covered with trees.
Right there in Ohio.
You said in Ohio, Blue? Mm.
It's all kind of pyramidal structures, mound structures. We was mound builders,
Yeah, all over.
you know. So we got it's all over the land. It's not hard. You can Google that shit. It's easy to find. They'll show you where it's at, and then tell you you didn't see what you just saw. You can go there and literally see it with your own eyes, walk on the pyramid, and then they're gonna tell you that it wasn't what you thought it was. Imagine the audacity of that.
Hmm. Yeah.
You've been there, and they tell you it ain't that.
That's a fact. You,
they
it's like I know what this is,
they be
and
like
they'll
nah.
even.
They be like nah. Be like nah. Man. The torch wants to know: is there any of us that did go to Africa?
That was the Liberian movement. They actually took a whole bunch of us to
Yeah,
Africa.
yeah, he took a lot of
They
us.
took more of us to Africa than they brought Africans over here.
Hmm.
They was trying to get us off the land because the only way they can reclaim the land is it has to be abandoned. That means it don't have a caretaker. That's the only way they can claim the land. But we still here. They thought we wasn't gonna never figure out who we was, but we ain't never forget. Everybody that's probably watching this, somebody in their family talking about we got Indian in our family. No, we don't got Indian. We are the Indian families.
Hmm.
We the ones. We was already here.
Two more. Well, we'll see. How do you feel about exploding head syndrome and deja vu?
Well, deja vu is more my territory than exploding head syndrome. I'm not quite familiar with that term. But deja vu, it can come from a series of things because nothing is new under the sun. And sometimes the circumstances is so similar to a circumstance in a past life till it's almost identical. And you have an aha moment. I did this before. You did do it before, but only you had on blue pants instead of green ones. That was the thing that was different. When you have a deja vu, figure out what's different. Then you'll know that, oh, okay, I experienced it in the last life, one of these prior lifetimes, and only it was a little bit different.
Mhm. Um, Romana says, "Can someone please talk about melanated women being having Rh negative blood?"
It's not just melanated people, it's also unmelanated people that have Rh negative blood. Contrary to popular opinion, the largest cross section of Rh negative in the melanated community is O negative, right? And that's they call it a universal blood type. And they can give anybody blood, but they can't take blood from anybody, only from certain ones, right? But yeah, so the melanated woman is a original bloodline of the negative blood, the Rh negative blood. But they're not the only ones. It's across all communities have Rh negative blood.
Mhm. All right. Can you ask him to speak on the? Oh no, we already went over that question. Uh, these are. Let me see. Talk about Jesus is actually ISIS.
All you got to do is go back to the Greek. If you go back to the Greek, the spelling for the word that they translating as Jesus is Iesous. In the Greek pronunciation, the capital I automatically silences the E, goes hard on the S, silences the O, go hard on the US. It's ISIS. One language back. That's all you got to do.
All right, we're gonna take one more question, then I'm gonna let these gentlemen close it out. Who was the first to actually civilize the white man?
The white man. The white man ain't white, first off. And at some point in time, all people have decided to live what we would consider in this day and time a savage lifestyle. But Mother Nature does that for a reason. Everything she do is for a reason, but we don't always understand it.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with that. I'm trying to see if there's all right, well, this is the last one, last one. Who were the Washita Moors? What about the Empire Washita de Mundia? I hope I'm saying
Yeah,
that.
so that translates as the empire of the Washita mound builders. And the Washita Moors was restored under Empress Tierra Verdiasi Gostinel Bay